the dark-defiant contender, the big black bringer of retribution, the Negro heavyweight champion of the world, Jay the Sport Jackson.
So strange hearing that description. The Royale is inspired by the true story of the first African-American heavyweight champion of the world and the most famous black person in the world at that time, Jack Johnson. Dion Johnstone stars in the play.
And making it all the more relevant after the boxer was pardoned by President Trump earlier this year. It's called the Royale, and Dion Johnstone joins us with more. Good morning.
Good morning.
Congrats on this amazing production and role.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me this morning.
So it kicks off Friday. How are you feeling leading up to it? Final rehearsals?
Very, very excited. We're moving into tech right now, so this is the first time that we're going to encounter the lights and the set, and then gradually we'll start moving audience in and get a feel for how all of that works. But we're ready to go and very excited to launch it.
It's a unique concept. I mean, this isn't a normal play. You're set in a boxing ring, right?
Yeah, it's set in a boxing ring, and it's stylized as a play in 6 rounds, and there's 6 scenes, and each scene is like a mini match of its own. And it's loosely based on the life of Jack Johnson, but what the playwright has done is by extrapolating it from the original story, it allows him to tell a more personal, intimate story with it. So there's some surprises that come that you don't expect.
Tell us a little bit about Jack Johnson. He was considered one of the greatest boxers of all time, yet people may not be fully aware of his history.
Yeah, Jack Johnson was fighting at a time where boxers of color were not allowed to contend against white boxers. So the leading champion at that time was a white boxer, and it sort of kept white supremacy in place. But Jack Johnson was such a gifted athlete that he became the heavyweight champion. He wanted that ultimate title, and he chased after the champion for quite a while, until eventually they had to have that match. And in winning the match, what he did is effectively erase the color line between black and white boxers, but it also set off a wave of race-related, incidences that were happening across the country.
Fights and protests, and some people were even killed after the fight because they were so unhappy with the results.
Absolutely, yeah.
What did you take when you were doing the research for this? Are there things that you walked away from that you thought you knew and you didn't?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing, and this is sort of the biggest question that the play posits, is what is the cost of achieving greatness? This is something that, Jack Johnson lived his life in a way that he wouldn't allow issues of color to block him from being who he knew who he was and achieving his potential. But there was a cost to that. And part of the cost that he had to bear was, what happens to your community as well. You may have the strength to stand in the limelight and live this life, but the effects are going to be felt by your family, by your community. And so how do you achieve greatness? How do you move that ball forward if you know that people are also going to suffer as a result of that? And nonetheless, change had to happen.
And he did so much for the sport, and he was such a hero, and he made so much money, and even still, we mentioned the pardon by Trump.
Only recently.
Right, only recently, and it was because he fell in love with a white woman. So at that time, it was considered a crime, and so he tried his best to fight against that ridiculous, absurd law, and yet there he was in the throes of it, facing prison time. So I guess better late than never. I can't believe it took, this long, 2018.
That long.
But I know for his family it means so much. So what do you hope people take away from this? As we said, it's still very relevant today.
A big thing is representation. He was fighting for a time where black people did not see themselves represented in the media. So they had nothing to lean on to realize that I can achieve greatness. I can be beautiful. I can be, exceptional. Yeah. And he fought to become that. And we're still fighting for more and more representation. And I think that's a message that's still relevant now, and the fight needs to continue.
And you're continuing that. Thank you so much. Inspiring.
Amen.
So excited for
pleasure.
you.
Cheers.
Make sure you see Dion in the Royale. Don't break a leg. You can see Dion in the Royale this Friday through November 11th at the Young Center for Performing Arts in the Distillery District. Tickets for info on our website, breakfasttelevision.ca. Go see it. Thank you so much. Right now.